Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We're going to be right back with today's guest, but first, we're going to give a shout out to our sponsors. Now, as an AD, you have the choice of which companies you affiliate with, and these are all great companies. They're time savers, some are money makers. They're all great teammates. So take 3 minutes, listen to our shout outs, then listen to our interview, and then go and visit these sponsors. I'm telling you, you're going to be glad you did. Here we go. We want to thank Sideline Interactive indoor score tables and video boards for their support of the podcast. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and schedule a live web demo to see their products in action. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Schedule that live web demo today. We also want to say thanks to Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but as an AD, I made sure our school was a Huddle school, and our coaches just loved the Huddle platform. Our student athletes loved the videos, and our parents loved the streaming, but there's a whole lot more. Go to huddle.com, join the millions of users, and turn your school into a Huddle school. That's huddle.com. We also want to thank Vital Signs Wall of Fame and Beacon Creative, their content creation platform. Wall of Fame has been helping schools bring their legacy to life for over a decade with their video boards, but Beacon Creative takes it to a whole new level. Their talented team of writers and creators are going to take your stories, your history, and come up with compelling narratives that you can then post on your school's social media channel. You need to see it to believe it. Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com, click on Content Services for more information. That's vitalsignswalloffame.com. We also want to thank Home Campus. Home Campus is a platform you're going to use every day. Scheduling, rosters, results, facility management. Did I mention athletic eligibility and clearance? Home Campus does all of these things and more, and does it better and faster than the other platforms. Go to homecampus.com to get started. And don't forget to mention the Educational AD Podcast. We also want to thank our friends at Gipper. Your athletic department is doing great things, and Gipper is the modern marketing platform that makes it easy for you to look like you're Division I, look like you're professional quality. Gipper is used and trusted by over 20,000 high school and college athletic programs. It's the #1 rated athletic marketing app. Go to Gipper.com. Find out how you can use their thousands of professionally designed templates in your colors, your logos, your brand to create, share, and schedule all your school's social media. That platform is Gipper. Go to Gipper.com today. We'd also like to thank Booster Hub, the #1 Booster Club software platform. If you work with your Booster Club, you know that volunteer signups, volunteer changes is always a fluid situation. Well, with Booster Hub, nothing falls through the cracks. Everybody stays engaged and connected through their secure platform. The same is true with sponsorship fees, with concession sales. Booster Hub is the platform your boosters need. It's the platform they deserve. Go to boosterhub.com to get started. We also want to thank Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. Now, I didn't get my master's through the Ohio program, but my assistant athletic director did, along with thousands of others. And while they earned their degrees, they also completed 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. Check out Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. We'd also like to thank Hometown and their suite of solutions that includes things like, well, digital ticketing, of course, but how about fee-free fundraising through School Funder, athletic website construction? The Hometown list just goes on and on. Whether you're a principal, an athletic director, even a head coach, Hometown is going to show you how to save time. They're going to show you how to raise more money, and they're going to show you how to bring your entire community together. That's hometown.com. Let's also say thanks to our good friends at athleticsurveys.com. If you're not using a survey to take the pulse of your student athletes, your coaches, how about your parents? You're missing out on a great opportunity. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that truly lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. It's athleticsurveys.com. And as with all our sponsors, don't forget to mention you heard about it on the Educational AD Podcast. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We're going out to my, got to say it, favorite state, my home state, where I was born and grew up, where I started my career, the great state of Oregon. We're going to be visiting today with Rodney Baney. Rodney is the Director of Athletics at Central Linn High School. It's, let's say north of Eugene, but right off that I-5 corridor, just a great, great place. We look forward to, driving through Central Linn every summer on our return to Oregon. Rodney, welcome to the Educational AD Podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Well, you and I were talking a little bit before we started to record. For our listeners, we are actually recording this on June 16th, so it's going to be very timely as you listen to it during this summer break. Rodney, we always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So tell us your life story in the next 2 minutes, where you were born, where you grew up, maybe take us up through your own college days, and then we'll take a break. But what's your origin story?
I grew up in Montana in a small town called Cut Bank. It's about 40 miles east of Glacier National Park and 30 miles south of Canada. Grew up playing sports. It was kind of honestly the only thing to do there, but it was also something I loved doing. I got down there and went to the University of Marion, Bismarck, North Dakota on a football scholarship. Um, Ended up going there for a while and then coming back to Montana, and then kind of honestly like had a roundabout way of getting my degree. I didn't actually get my bachelor's till I was married and in my 30s, and then went back to school and got my master's later on. So it's kind of a roundabout journey to get to where I'm at now, but one I think that's probably made me who I am. So one that I'm thankful for, but hasn't always been easy, but it's been a good one.
You're absolutely right. And I'm always fascinated by the different journeys that we hear about on the show. I think there's probably let's say a traditional journey, after high school, 4 years of college, start teaching and coaching and then becoming an AD. But there's so many different paths. Let's go back to growing up in Montana. Now, Montana is currently, one of two states that I have not been in my lifetime. I'm actually going there at the end of July. I'm going to be presenting at the Montana Coaches and ADs Association. So I can scratch that off my list. Alaska, I'm still waiting for you to invite me. But when you were growing up, I think people look at Montana or think of Montana, and it's mountains, it's Yellowstone Ranch, it's it's out in the boonies. What was your experience growing up? Were you out in the country, or were you in one of the Montana cities?
More out in the country. It was kind of a little town, kind of similar to like where I'm at now, Central Lynn. It was a farming, ranching community. Growing up in the early days, oil was pretty big there, and then the oil kind of dried up, and those companies moved out, and then it just was kind of farming and ranching, and then other people that kind of just stuck around that didn't farm and ranch. It's a town of about 3,000. Um, Great place to grow up. I mean, a lot of fun. You're kind of able to kind of just go out and have fun, not really have any cares or worries, and just able to live life. And sports was huge there, and so um, I'm thankful for that. I mean, it was kind of Montana sports is kind of crazy, especially in the small town.
Now, growing up, was it balancing sports with chores out on the farm? Were your parents supportive of your love of sports? What are some of your memories of those times?
Yeah, I grew up in town. My dad was worked on the oil fields, and then when they closed, he ended up going to work on a farm. Um, Parents were always supportive of me playing sports. It kept me busy. It kept me out of trouble. And just all my friends were doing it, and we kind of like even when we weren't playing sports, in the school or um, anything like that, we were out playing them just on our own, right? Playing pickup football in somebody's yard or pick up basketball in the basketball court or getting enough guys together to go try to play sandlot baseball. So, I mean, we were playing sports, it felt like constantly. It was just kind of a huge part of our lives growing up there, and um, just something that was very, very important. I remember my senior year, you'd have like, 1,500 people at a football game in a town of 3,000. Everything shut down. Everybody came to the games, and it was kind of a big spectacle. So it was a lot of fun growing up, and just kind of a different experience than even like out here in Oregon than you see of people just shutting down the town and coming out and support the local school.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing like that. Having spent my career primarily at smaller schools as a high school AD and coach, I know just what you're talking about. Now, I'm imagining, you mentioned you played college football. I'm imagining in high school you were multi-sport athlete.
Yeah. So growing up, I played football, baseball, and basketball. We didn't have high school baseball, so it was like Legion and Babe Ruth, that type of stuff. And then I also golfed a little bit in high school because if you golfed, you got a free membership to the golf club. So all summer, so that was kind of an advantage too. It was get out and go golf, and then you got to golf for free all summer.
Wow. Um, Looking back at, say, your senior year, I'm a big moments guy. Is there a signature moment that is still sticks with you today from, one of your high school sports experiences?
Absolutely, actually, basketball. So we were kind of a football powerhouse, and basketball was kind of an afterthought. And my senior year, we were kind of probably the worst team that we'd had there in my 4 years of being in high school. And our team hadn't won a state championship in I think it was 53 years. And you have a district tournament, and we took fourth in our district, which barely qualified us for divisional tournament. And then the top three there go to state, and we took third in divisionals. And then we went to the state tournament and beat basically the top three teams in the state who had combined less losses than we had as a team, and we're kind of the surprise Cinderella state champion that year. Um, we came back from 10 down in the semifinals, had a tip in off a steal on an inbounds pass at the buzzer, and then kind of went on the state championship game and just kind of took care of business. So it's one of those things where very unexpected, and I think one of those things that kind of still lives a little bit in lore back in my home area, just because of how unexpected it was.
Oh wow, what an amazing story! Those are the types of stories that we just love to hear. Now, University of Mary, South Dakota, that's a pretty good football program too. Were you thinking about during that time? Were you thinking about walking on it with an NFL team, or you knew you were going to be a coach? What are some of your memories of that time in college?
It wasn't like super long time. I ended up blowing out my knee my freshman year, and then kind of moved back to Montana, and then ended up going to school closer to home. I always wanted to be a coach. It was something I was passionate about. I think I was pretty realistic. I think when I was little, I was like, yeah, I want to play in like the NFL or the NBA or something like that. But I think I was pretty realistic about my skills. I was more of an effort kid than like a superb athlete, I guess. So I think I got to where I got to by just by hard work and maybe had times outworking the people around me. And the mental aspect of the game was super important to me. So I took that really seriously. And so I think being coachable is what helped me get there. I do know when I got there, it's a different world, right? It's your job basically, and you're two defensive meetings a day, weightlifting, conditioning, two practices a day. I mean, it was you really have to be disciplined to stay up on your schoolwork while you're playing a college sport because honestly, it's especially for football, it was like a job, full-time job. So definitely kept me busy the time I was there.
Oh no, absolutely. Let's go and take our first break. Once again, for our listeners, we're visiting today with Rodney Baney. He's the director of athletics at Central Linn High School. That's Linn County, Oregon. We're going to take that break, but we're coming back with more, so please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and you can schedule a live web demo to see their products in action. You heard me say many times, probably one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. We use it for home games, of course, but we also use it for pep rallies, for signing ceremonies. Their products are tremendously versatile, and their customer service Just outstanding. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Schedule that live web demo today. We also want to say thank you to Huddle. You know, as a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches, I'm telling you, all of our coaches, they just love the Huddle platform. Our student athletes love the videos, and our parents love the streaming, but there's a whole lot more. Go to huddle.com. Join the millions of users and find out how to turn your school into a Huddle school. That's huddle.com. And don't forget to mention you heard about it on the Educational AD Podcast.
Jake, we use Huddle here at Central Linn as a basketball coach. I know it's been invaluable for us just being able to the ease of getting film from other teams, breaking down film, getting stats for our kids, and then also for our students to be able to watch film and also to be able to create highlight films to send to college coaches who are looking to play at the next level. It's just a fantastic product and great customer service by the company.
Well, thanks so much for saying that. I still remember, as a young assistant coach 100 years ago, when I first got out of college, driving that VHS tape 3 hours on a Saturday morning to some convenience store in the middle of nowhere to hand off to the coach of the school you're going to play, that whole tape exchange. And, when I finally converted to Huddle a long time ago, it was just such a game changer. So thanks again for sharing that. Very cool stuff. For our listeners, our guest today is Rodney Baney. He's the Director of Athletics at Central Linn High School. That's in the Willamette Valley in Oregon. Rodney, you mentioned earlier on that you had, let's say, a non-traditional path to becoming an athletic director. I think it's important for our listeners to hear about the different ways that people, find their AD job. So how did that work out for you? How did your path to becoming the AD at Central Linn first begin?
So after my college playing days were done, I kind of went through a rough period, making some bad choices, and then kind of, I guess, faith found me. I found faith, and kind of turned my life around. Met my wife, and we moved to Oregon shortly after that. I started youth pastoring at some churches, and then did that for I don't know 15 years, and then um, started working just kind of in retail, honestly, and decided I wanted to go back to school. Got my bachelor's in psychology and family studies online from Corbett University here in Oregon, and then was actually working food service at OSU, and then became the food service director at Central Linn while I was coaching, and just had a passion for kids. I've always had, since I was younger, and decided to go back to school and get my master's in school counseling through Grand Canyon University. Got that and started school counseling here, and then they were kind of going through a transition period here and asked me if I'd like to be the athletic director this past year. And I'd been coaching here for 13 years and was like something I always wanted to do and try. So said yes, and that's kind of, I guess, roundabout way how I got here.
Well, we're going to talk about Central Linn as an AD in our next segment, but as you were on your journey, and you said, was the coaching thing in the back of your mind that, hey, I want to do this, and at some of your stops you were able to coach, or was Central Linn when you first got back into coaching?
So actually, when my wife was going to Warner Pacific College in Portland, they were bringing back a girl. They were trying to bring girls basketball back. They had boys basketball, but they did not have girls basketball. And there was a gentleman there who brought it back as a club sport and asked me to come and coach them. So I was an assistant there for the club team for 2 years. Um, Loved that, and then kind of took a little bit of a break. And then as my kids got older, I started coaching them in youth sports. Um, AYSO soccer, which I'd never. I mean, Montana with soccer was not really a thing growing up in the 80s and 90s. So I kind of learned that on the go, and then coaching them in basketball. And then um, it was funny. I was actually driving on 99 because I-5 was backed up and drove through Central, and I was like, "Oh, it's kind of a great area." And we live in Albany, and
Right.
one of my sons was kind of having some troubles. He had ADHD, was having a rough time at a big middle school, and I was like, "Hey, let's look down at Central and let's look at this small school and see if we can get him down there." Brought him down here, got him enrolled, and at that time they had a junior high boys basketball job open. So I applied for it and became a junior high boys basketball coach, and that's kind of how I ended up at Central Linn.
Well, again, you mentioned, all those communities in Oregon, Albany and of course, Central Lynn. I'm very familiar with it, but, for our listeners, Central Lynn, it's on, and you also mentioned Highway 99, before the interstate system, that was, the north-south road, all the way down to California. And these smaller towns were thriving in the, I'm going to say 40s, 50s, 60s. And as the interstate system developed, they became, let's say less active. But what were your impressions, as a coach, as a teacher, as a educator, moving from Albany, big city, multiple high schools, to Central Lynn, which is, I'm exaggerating here, one stoplight town at best.
Yeah, it was a great transition, honestly, especially for my son. It really like changed his educational life, honestly. He went from struggling really with confidence and self-esteem at a big school, came down here and with able to get more one-on-one attention, able to get a little bit more of what he needed, and so he excelled. Ended up playing basketball and soccer in high school, and ended up graduating with B's and A's, which was not what he was doing in junior high. And then we kind of moved our whole family down here, just kind of drive him down every day. And my wife became a kindergarten teacher here, and I just fell in love with the community. The community is just amazing. It's something you can't get at a big school. And this is not a knock on big schools, but you just get to know people, and you get to know the community. They get to know you. They get to know your family. And there's just so much support in a small community that you may not have. There are people that were looking out for my kids even when I wasn't able to, right? And so there's just so much support, and I think that makes a huge difference. Um, and there are also, some negatives that can be at a small school too when you're growing up in a small town. But for the most part, it's been a great community. It's been great for my family, and really, I think, been something that we're really been blessed with finding this place and being welcomed here.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I think the positives that you mentioned, outweigh, that other side of the coin. Um, you mentioned you were director of food service at Central Inn. I've never worked in that area, but I know that that's a department that can help make or break, an athletic department experience. What are some things, what are some, I guess, some skills or some tools that you either had that allowed you to experience success running that program, or some tools that you maybe developed working there that you're using now as an AD?
I mean, I kind of got into it because I love cooking, and that's something I'm still pretty passionate about. Um, I would say I learned more skills there because there's so much paperwork. It was my first time really in a federal job. Like I'd worked like I said, worked at OSU in food service and such there, but I was more just cooking, wasn't doing the paperwork side of it. I got Central, and there was so much paperwork and organization that had to be done. Building those skills definitely helped me in becoming an athletic director when you're keeping track of scheduling, and you're keeping track of bus schedules, and you're keeping track of, especially in spring, if a game gets canceled because of weather and having to reschedule and get those bus schedules back on track. There's so much, I think, behind the scenes that people don't realize that goes on as an athletic director. So that time in food service learning, really how to be organized, how to keep up on paperwork, um, really helped me, I think, moving into this job, even though they're kind of completely different. But the organization that comes with being an athletic director, I don't think people can fully comprehend or understand unless you've done the job.
Yeah. Again, I'm just trying to think of or remember all the different food service directors that I've worked with over the years. And again, they were all just super organized individuals. The the person that took over for you now that you're the athletic director, are they following in your steps and the procedures that you put in, or have they gone in a completely different direction?
I think they're probably kind of doing their own thing. They were a they were a cook for a long time at the school, so they kind of already had kind of a knowledge base more so than I did when I came into the job of the community. They lived in the community, knew the students, kind of knew the service program. And I think because they'd been in the food service program, they had a kind of better idea of like what all it entailed and what all that paperwork and um, organization took. So I think she's done a fantastic job of just, I think, honestly taking it to another level and making it better than when I was there.
Well, that's very kind of you to say. Well, obviously, you must have done a great job because they want to keep you around and give you the keys to the athletic department. So we're going to talk about that in our next segment. And once again, for our listeners, we're visiting today with Rodney Baney, the director of athletics at Central Linn High School, and that's in Central Linn, Oregon. Let's take that break, but we are coming back. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We also want to say thanks to Vital Signs Wall of Fame for their support of the podcast. Now, Wall of Fame has been helping schools bring their legacy to life for over a decade with their video boards, but now with their content creation service, they're taking it to a whole new level. Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com, click on content services, and their team of creators, of writers, of designers are going to take a look at your school's history, your stories, your coaches, your kids, and they're going to come up with compelling narratives that you can then post on your school's social media channel. You got to see it to believe it. Once again, go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. Take a look at their video boards, but also click on content services to find out more. vitalsignswalloffame.com. We'd also like to thank Home Campus. Home Campus is a platform that you are going to use every single day for things like scheduling, rosters, results, facility management. They do all of this and more, and they do it better and faster than the other platforms. Did I mention athletic eligibility and clearance? That one alone is a game changer. Go to homecampus.com to get started. That's homecampus.com. And we want to say thanks to our friends at Gipper. You're doing great stuff with your student athletes, your coaches, your teams, and Gipper is going to allow you to look like you're Division I, like you're professional grade. Gipper's used and trusted by over 20,000 high school and college athletic programs. Go to their website, see where they're the #1 marketing platform. Gipper makes it easy with their thousands of professionally designed templates that you can then customize in your colors, your logos, your brand to create, share, and schedule all your social media. And it's only one platform, and that platform is Gipper. Go to Gipper.com to get started. And once again, don't forget to mention you heard about it on the Educational AD Podcast. Welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD Podcast. Rod, you shared a little bit of your journey as an athletic director. Now let's hear about Central Linn. Where is it located? What's the enrollment? What are the teams and programs that you offer? And what are some of the things that you are particularly proud of as their athletic director?
Yeah, so like I said, it's in the Willamette Valley in Oregon. It's kind of famous for a couple things. It's a grass seed capital of the world, so a lot of grass seeds grown here, among other farming stuff. Other claim to fame is Brownsville, which is a part of the community. Was also where the movie Stand By Me was filmed. So if you've seen that 1980s movie, um, as far as um, athletics, we offer actually quite a few for a small school. We're a 2A school, so in Oregon it's 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A, 5A, and 6A, and we're one of the smaller divisions. In the fall, we offer boys and girls cross country, football, volleyball, and then in winter we have and boys and girls soccer, and then in the winter we have boys and girls basketball and wrestling, and then spring track, baseball, and softball. Uh, we've had a lot of successful programs since I've been here. When I started here, football and boys basketball were kind of the kings. Um, hadn't won a state championship, but the boys basketball team finished second a couple times. We went to the round of the final eight site multiple times. Football, kind of the same thing, was in the state playoffs multiple years, and then it kind of shifted over the last probably 8 years, where girls sports have kind of taken over. I'm one of our girls basketball coaches, and we've been to Pendleton, which is kind of the final site, um, and we've been there, I think, 6 out of the last 8 years or 7 out of the last nine, and brought home a trophy every year we were over there. Girls soccer took second in state 2 years ago, which was the first 2A school to ever play in a state championship game. Soccer's 1, 2, and 3A all combined. Um, and our track and cross country programs have been probably our most successful programs over the whole extensive history of Central Linn. There's a lot of uh, some famous alumni that have come through there, and a lot of state championships. The boys had won 5 in a row at one point right before I got here. I was kind of at the tail end of that um, dynasty.
Now, again, you mentioned it's a small school. What percentage of your kids would you say are also multi-sport athletes? Because I know that's pretty common at the small school level.
I would say probably somewhere in the 90s. Um, it's pretty high. I mean, we have, let's say during fall, we even have girls that and boys that do cross country and soccer at the same time. And so they would, go to soccer practice, then go to cross country practice. Or, I mean, those are two sports that demand a lot of running and a lot of, uh, honestly, like just, tough mindset. And so we had a lot of kids that were dual sporting just in those sports in one season, the same season. But I would say at least 90% of our kids are playing multiple sports, at least two.
Well, and I can attest to the history of Central Linn cross country. My wife, as I mentioned, went to high school just down the road in Junction City, and every time we drive through, she talks about somebody from Central Linn, this girl or this race that she had to race against back in the day. When you came on board as the athletic director, there's a saying we use with coaches and with ADs that you don't know what you don't know. Now, you certainly weren't a stranger to the school environment. You'd been there for a while as the director of food service. But was there anything that you found out you didn't know about being an athletic director?
I would just say, like, sometimes as coaches, I don't want to say protected, but like, I think there's, complaining is natural, like, with people, right? And every parent has wants what's best for their child. And so there are times when, there might be a parent complaint and the coaches don't hear about it. So you're kind of unaware of those type of things. As an AD, you hear those things. And so you're kind of more aware that there's more of that kind of stuff happens than I was aware of as a coach. Um, and it was kind of just like trying to navigate that whole thing of like, I understand, I want you to advocate for your student, for your child. That's what you do as a parent, and that's an important job. But as the athletic director, as a coach, like I'm responsible for advocating for all, whatever 15 kids in the program or 20 kids in the program and what's best for them. And so while we still, yeah, want to take care of your child, make sure they get what they need, we have to like look at what's overall best for the program and for all the athletes that are involved. And so that was kind of a different thing for me because my other job as a school counselor, I'm really, passionate about the mental and emotional health needs of each and every student. And so that was a little tricky and something I kind of didn't really know. And I think as coaches, sometimes you can be kind of oblivious to maybe what's going on behind the scenes. So I think that was probably the biggest adjustment having to make of like, you know, when there's a complaint, when there's a um, questioning, I guess, maybe even not so necessarily a complaint of how to navigate that and really, make sure that family feels hopefully like they're taken care of, but also knowing that you have to take care of the whole department and the whole program first and foremost, and all of those students.
Yeah, that's such a good point. I guess I'm curious. Parents they already kind of knew you. You were a fixture in the community. You've been a coach and all that, but now you're the AD. Was was there a high degree, a low degree of, hey Rod, this is what you really need to do as the athletic director? Was there a lot of free advice being offered from the parent perspective, or was that not a thing?
I would say not really a thing. I would say there was more of because they knew me and knew my personality and knew like I said, like I really care about each and every student as an individual and their emotional needs, their mental well-being, mental health. I think there was more of a I think they felt more free to come and say, hey, like my student's struggling like with this coach or the way things are going, like can you help us out? Is there any advice you can give us? So I think it was more of a coming and seeking support than offering advice type of thing. Um, I think just because there was a comfort level with who I am and having worked with some of these kids, I'm the third student coaching the third kid in the family, right? And so I think there was a comfort level there, being able to come and say, hey, like let's talk about this. The hardest part for me was, I couldn't always give them the answer that they wanted, and that was a little bit different, right?
Yeah, and again, that's a great piece of advice for anyone starting out in the profession is whether you are actually doing something right, building that relationship first and getting to know your stakeholders is as valuable, maybe even more valuable than actually knowing what to do. Great stuff. Um, Rod, we're going to do this at the end of the podcast too, but if one of our listeners wanted to reach out and pick your brain a little bit more, find out how you run your program at Central Linn, what's the best way that they can connect with you?
Um, so my school email is Rodney Rodney .Baney Baney at centrallin.k12.or.us. That'd probably be the best way to reach out at first, and then I'm willing to share my phone number and stuff and be available, um, that way as well. Um, I think there were a lot of people that was able this year to kind of reach out to and get advice from and get help from and kind of lean on. And so I think it's super important, especially if you're just starting out. This job can be like really overwhelming and all encompassing because there's just so much that you don't know until you get into the middle of it. And so having people around you that can support you and give you advice or, even just someone that's willing to listen and so you can bounce ideas off of is super huge to, um, uh, I think being successful and not burning out. I think it's an easy job, I think, to burn out in as well.
Yeah. Oh, no, absolutely. And for our listeners, Rodney's information is also available on the NIAAA membership portal for all of our NIAAA members. Let's go and take another quick break. I know that's shocking for our regular listeners, but we are going to come back with more. So please stay with us. This is the Educational ED Podcast. We also want to thank Booster Hub, the number one Booster Club software app. If you work with your Booster Club, you know that volunteer signups and volunteer changes are part of the daily routine. Well, with Booster Hub, nothing falls through the cracks. Everybody stays connected and engaged with their secure platform. The same is true with sponsorship fees or concession sales. Nothing gets lost. Everybody's on the same page. Give your boosters the platform they need. Give them the platform they deserve. And that platform is Booster Hub. Go to boosterhub.com to get started. We'd also like to thank Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. Now, I didn't get my master's through the Ohio program, but guess what? My assistant athletic director did, along with thousands of others, and it was a great experience. And while they were earning their master's degree, they also completed 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. Take a look at Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. We also want to say thanks to our friends at Hometown. Hometown continues to be a leader in education-based athletics with their solutions that include things like, well, digital ticketing, of course. They're still the number one digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. But how about athletic website construction, fee-free fundraising through School Funder? The Hometown list just goes on and on. Whether you're an athletic director, a principal, even a head coach, Hometown is going to show you how to save time. They're going to show you how to raise more money, and they're going to show you how to bring your entire community together. You'll find it all and more at hometown.com. And of course, tell them you heard about it on the Educational AD Podcast. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD Podcast. Rod, you mentioned in the last segment that there were people that you were able to reach out to on your journey as an athletic director. If you can't share with our listeners, where you're at currently with not just with OADA in Oregon, but also with the NIAAA, share a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, so I'm kind of just getting started. This year was kind of about getting my feet wet. OADA was really, um, I would say, vital in helping me get through this year. Again, just having members who I was able to reach out to, a lot of local small schools, even in our league, athletic directors who'd been there for a long time. I was just able to, you know, give them a call, ask advice, get advice, even walk me through some of the paperwork. I would also say that OSAA, which is our governing body for sports here in Oregon, also was pretty instrumental in helping new ADs get through. We had a new AD training at the beginning of the year, kind of walking through a lot of the processes of eligibility and like making sure that students are eligible. Um, transfers, just all those little things that you kind of like may not think about when you first step into the job. Um, so they were pretty vital, and again, just always there. Like when I need something, I could just reach out, even to the director, Peter Weber, who's kind of the head of OSAA. He would always get back to me quick and give me good advice. So, wherever you're at, whatever state you're in, get with that state agency. I think first, because there's people that are going to know your area, know your communities, and those folks are really going to be able to help you like kind of navigate your communities and your state and the laws and um, governing body of that state. And then I went to the state AD conference, and if you have a chance to go to one of those are also just great. A lot of different speakers, a lot of the sponsors that you have, getting to meet those folks, kind of like see what they're all about and what they can offer you. There's a lot of help out there if you're wanting help. My best advice would be just don't be one of those people who thinks that they can do it all themselves, because you really can't. And so being able to kind of reach out, and for me, my next step is really just wanting to take classes and grow and learn and hopefully get better at what I'm doing now.
Yeah, you mentioned Oregon Athletic Directors Association. I was very fortunate to be part of the state conference a couple of years ago. As their keynote, helped teach an LTI course and did a workshop. And just was really impressed with their leadership and the different activities that they had for new ADs, for networking. You're in a great state with the OADA leadership. And you're a member of the NIAAA at this point. I'm going to hope that you're going to be able to attend the national conference in December in Phoenix. Is that on your calendar yet?
That is on my calendar. That one's a little bit more tricky because I coach girls basketball too, but
Yeah.
I'm just got by JV and assistant coach, so I usually can. My head coach is really good about if I need to miss something, she'll coach the JV too. So have a pretty good like a
Oh,
close coaching staff that works really well together. So that makes it nice when I have to miss for things like that.
yeah, that is tough timing for basketball coaches, but I can tell you it's a tremendous, tremendous experience, and nobody ever forgets their first national conference. Well, Rod, this has been really cool connecting with you, not just from the Oregon connection, but what you've been able to share about your school. But we're not done yet. We always wrap up with a segment called the Athletic Director's Toolbox. We're going to take our final break, hear from Athletic Surveys, who sponsor this. And when we come back, I'm going to challenge you to send out a brand new AD. You know something about that. On their very first job, but I'm only going to let you put 3 tools in the toolbox. So let's hear from Athletic Surveys, and when we come back, we're going to see what Rodney Baney puts in his new athletic director toolbox. Please stay with us. We'd like to thank Athletic Surveys for sponsoring the AD Toolbox segment. At my school, We use surveys for just about everything for our student athletes, for our coaches. We also used them for our parents. And here's the cool thing, the information that would come back on these surveys, almost always over the top, positive, and it'll be the same for you. The surveys also allowed us to hear from our squeaky wheel parents, but we were able to find out what their concerns were, usually address them before they turned into something big. But getting back to that positive data, tremendously valuable, especially when you have to visit with one of those frustrated parents, sometimes your principal, sometimes even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that truly lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. And again, as with all of our sponsors, make sure you tell them you heard about it on the Educational AD Podcast. Well, it's that time of the podcast. We've been visiting today with Rodney Baney. He's the Director of Athletics at Central Linn High School in the great state of Oregon. Tremendous background as a coach, as a leader, and now as an AD. But right now, I'm going to challenge him to send out a brand new athletic director on their first job, but I'm only going to let him put 3 items in the toolbox. So, Rodney, what 3 tools are going to go into your new athletic director toolbox?
I think the first tool would be, and it's kind of more of a personal one, is building relationships. I think relationships are a huge part of any job, especially in athletics and in the educational system. Um, Building relationships with stakeholders, so that you're having, even in the negative situations, that there's a positive base going into difficult conversations. Um, Relationships with your administration, so just so you know that you can go to them so they can support you. And like I talked about, OADA, our Oregon Athletic Directors, NAAAA, and OSAA, just building relationships with those people that you know that have more knowledge than you, um, or are just there to offer sound advice because they've been through it before. I think relationships is a huge part of any job. I think especially in sports, as a coach, as an athletic director, having those positive relationships and being able to build them is will save you a lot of headaches, I guess. The next couple, proactive sports is something I've done as a coach. Bruce Brown, fantastic human being. You can go listen to them speak. They have pamphlets kind of on a lot of different areas of sports, including things like parent meetings, building a program, some different stuff like that. Just a lot of really good stuff on building positive programs and positive relationships. Kind of deals with some of the mental and emotional aspects of coaching and being an athletic director. And the other one I actually kind of found during COVID. I was bored and kind of on YouTube and found a series of books and just some videos on called "What Drives Winning," and it's a series. I believe a guy that played college basketball. I think he kind of got into the more the mental and emotional again aspect of coaching and building teams and building programs, and have some of the top college coaches, professional coaches who are a part of I don't know, I guess his uh, group of stakeholders, or they call them board of directors. And there's just a lot of really great information there on like um, making sure that we're not just looking at sports as a thing where we're about winning trophies and about that type of stuff, but more about like how we're building individuals, how we're taking care of students and helping them, reach their full potential, mentally, emotionally, scholastically. And so I think those are some things that a little bit more, I would say, philosophical or spiritual in a sense, but I think things that are super important to remember, because I think those are sometimes the things that get left out. We can get stuck in um, the laws of things and not really remember that there are people involved. And so I think those things help us remember that these are human beings involved, and so we need to kind of never lose track of that fact.
Yeah. You got a third one for us?
Um, yeah, no, I would just say, um, podcasts like this one. I think wherever you can like go and learn and grow your knowledge, I think is super important. Um, I think for me, I always want to be getting better at my task. And so anytime I hear something, I want to measure it kind of with what I'm currently doing and see if there's ways that I can improve. And so I think listening to podcasts, reading books. I know you have some books that are kind of in your background. I see the small school athletic director one that kind of interests me. Like, I think anytime you can find things like that just give you at least a fresh view of things, or maybe open your eyes to see things in a little bit different way, or ways that you can grow. And I think that's the big thing. Never stop growing, never stop trying to improve and educate yourself. Because no matter how long you've been probably doing this for quite a while, like there's probably still stuff that sometimes happens where you're like, wow, I guess I didn't really ever think this one would happen. So this job kind of has a way of like surprising you, sometimes in good ways, sometimes in like, oh wow, I never really thought that would happen type ways.
Well, I appreciate that shout out for the books. I'm actually going to go ahead and send you a free copy of Small School Athletic Director. It's 35 athletic directors from small schools that kind of share some of their best practices and great tools. And the one about relationships, you obviously know that from your time as a coach. And again, your previous job at Central Linn, directing the food service, that value, the importance of building close relationships, and the proactive network, absolutely great resources there for coaches. Rod, one more time, if one of our listeners wants to reach out and pick your brain in their journey as a lifelong learner, what's the best way that they can connect with Rodney Baney?
Like I said, NIAAA, I'm on there. You can reach out to my school email, Rodney, RODNEY .Baney, BANEY at centrallin.k12.or.us. I'm also on social media. I think it's just my name on Facebook. If you're on Instagram, I think it's Coach Baney. But yeah, would love to talk with anybody that's willing to talk, because I know that there's a lot of things that I can learn from other people as well. So, and again, it's all about building relationships, and I think the more people the better and more full your toolbox is or can be.
No, again, absolutely. Adding to that network, it's something that I recommend to new ADs all the time. Probably one of the single greatest tools that you can have in your toolbox. Talking about toolboxes, Rod, thanks for taking some time out of your summer vacation to share with our listeners. All the best moving forward. And if you're going to be down Junction City in August for the Scandia Festival, let's see if we can connect, maybe have a beverage and talk about AD stuff, because we'll be down there for my wife's high school reunion. But, thanks again for sharing.
Thank you, and I look forward to that. Scandy Fest is a pretty cool thing. If you're in Oregon and you've never been there, you should go check it out.
No, it is. It is a very cool thing. For our listeners, we think you're a cool thing too, and we appreciate you tuning in. And just a reminder that we upload the Zoom recordings of every interview to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We do this just about every day. We try to share stories and best practices from the world of athletics. So please come back and join us again on the next episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time.